Sarah sat motionless in the dim glow of her desk lamp, the weight of 20 years of sacrifice pressing down on her chest. The small office, once filled with the gentle hum of production and the scent of botanical oils, now felt like a mausoleum. Stacks of unpaid invoices, foreclosure notices, and cold rejection letters cluttered the desk, the inked proof of her downfall. Willow and Sage had been her life's work, a labor of love that had blossomed into a respected skincare brand. She had built it from scratch, mixing formulas in her tiny apartment, driving miles to hand-deliver products, sacrificing sleep, vacations, and relationships to bring her vision to life. Every bottle, every jar bore her imprint. And yet, it had all crumbled, reduced to a footnote in an industry obsessed with youth, influencers, and profit margins. Her competitors had seen an opportunity. A corporate conglomerate, backed by flashy endorsements and bottomless marketing budgets, had dissected her business, mimicked her formulas with cheaper synthetic substitutes, and sold them at half the price. Investors had panicked. Loan officers had turned their backs. Suppliers had cut ties. And Jonathan had made the final call. She could still hear his voice, cool and detached over the phone. "Sarah, it's just business. The board believes this is the best way forward." She had built that company. She had trained him, mentored him, and in the end, he had replaced her. Sarah exhaled sharply and stood, walking to the window of her now empty office. The city lights flickered outside, indifferent to her loss. 52 years old. Too young to retire, but too old, according to some, to start over. She stared at her reflection in the glass. The fine lines around her eyes, the silver strands hidden within dark waves of hair. Reminders of time, experience, resilience. She had built something once. Who was to say she couldn't do it again? She turned back to her desk, brushing away the clutter, her mind already spinning. If she was going to fight, she needed a plan. And this time, no one would take it from her. Sarah packed the last of her belongings into a single cardboard box. A framed photo of Willow and Sage's early days, a few notebooks filled with ideas never realized, and a small vial of lavender oil, her first formulation, the scent now a bittersweet reminder of what she'd lost. The office, once brimming with creativity and ambition, now stood hollow and silent. She exhaled, straightened her shoulders, and walked out without looking back. She had no backup plan, no investors, and no brand to rebuild. Just a relentless voice in her head whispering, "Start again." But how? The industry had changed. The world had changed. Could she still compete? Days turned into weeks as she scoured job listings. Consulting gigs, marketing roles, product development positions, each promising an opportunity yet offering nothing substantial. One interview after another led to the same polite rejection. "We appreciate your experience, but we're looking for someone who aligns with modern branding strategies." Translation: too old, too traditional, too obsolete. Her frustration grew. She had spent 2 decades crafting natural, ethical skincare before the industry even cared about those values. Now, brands manufactured a faux clean beauty aesthetic while cutting corners and cashing in on greenwashing. If only consumers knew the truth. The idea struck like lightning. Sarah didn't need another corporate job. She needed an audience, a space where she could expose the industry's hidden shortcuts, share her expertise, and prove that real, sustainable skincare still mattered. She dusted off her old laptop, created a YouTube channel, and hesitated over the blank screen. What did she have to lose? Her first video was simple. No filters, no fancy lighting. Just her. In her tiny kitchen, breaking down the myths of organic labels. She spoke candidly, revealing the deceptive practices behind mass-produced skincare, explaining why cheaper formulations sacrifice quality. She ended with a promise. "I'm Sarah Monroe. I lost my company to corporate greed, but I refuse to let them erase me. If you care about your skin and the truth behind what you're putting on it, stay with me. Let's build something new together." She hit upload and exhaled. What she didn't know was that she had just sparked a revolution. Sarah didn't expect much from that first video. Maybe a few curious clicks, some sympathy comments, and then the inevitable fade into digital obscurity. But the internet had other plans. By the next morning, the video had 10,000 views, then 50,000 by the end of the week. The comment section was a wildfire of engagement. Former Willow and Sage customers who had wondered why their favorite products suddenly felt different. Estheticians frustrated with cheap formulas flooding the market. Women in their 50s and 60s who felt alienated by the influencer-driven beauty industry. Finally, someone telling the truth about these brands. I thought I was imagining things. No wonder my skin's been reacting badly. Sarah, please start your own line again. We'll buy from you. Sarah read every comment, heart pounding. She hadn't been erased. People still cared. But this wasn't just about exposure. She needed to do something with it. She filmed another video, then another. She broke down ingredient labels, tested viral clean beauty brands, debunked marketing gimmicks. She spoke like a woman who had nothing left to lose, and her audience loved her for it. But the turning point came when she received an email from a small-batch cosmetic chemist who had followed her journey. Sarah, I've been in R&D for over 15 years, and I hate what's happening in this industry. If you're serious about making real products again, let's talk. The fire inside her reignited. For months, she worked tirelessly, reformulating old favorites and designing new, ethically sourced, small-batch skincare that put integrity above profit. This wasn't Willow and Sage. This was something purer, more personal. She let her audience guide her. She shared every step, the sourcing, the trials, the setbacks. She took votes on scents, textures, even packaging. Customers weren't just buyers anymore. They were co-creators. When she was finally ready to launch, she typed 2 words into a blank screen. Everleaf Botanicals. No investors. No corporate interference. Just her and the community she had built from the ashes. And on launch day, her website crashed from too many orders. Sarah knew the launch would be big, but she hadn't expected this. Within 24 hours, Everleaf Botanicals had completely sold out. The demand was overwhelming. Messages flooded in from longtime supporters, beauty bloggers, and even former Willow and Sage customers who had finally found something they could trust again. But then came the email. The subject line made her stomach drop. From Jonathan Prescott. Subject: a proposal. She stared at the screen, heart pounding. Jonathan, the man who had taken everything from her, wanted to talk. Every instinct told her to ignore him, delete the email, block his name from her inbox, pretend like he didn't exist. But something about the message made her pause. Sarah, I've been following Everleaf's growth. I think we should talk. Let's meet. Name the time and place. She had spent years imagining this moment. The chance to confront him, to finally say all the things she had swallowed down when he had ripped Willow and Sage away from her. So she agreed. They met at an upscale cafe downtown. One that she had once frequented when Willow and Sage was thriving. Back then, she had been a woman of influence, greeted by name, respected in the industry. Now, she was an independent entrepreneur with nothing to lose. Jonathan arrived late, as expected. He still had that same smug, corporate confidence. The tailored suit, the perfectly timed smirk, the air of a man who had never truly lost anything. Sarah, he said smoothly, sliding into the seat across from her. It's been a while. She folded her hands over the table, keeping her face neutral. Let's skip the small talk. What do you want? His smirk wavered just slightly. I'll be honest, he said, leaning forward. Willow and Sage is struggling. Since you left, things haven't been the same. Sarah arched a brow. You mean since you stripped the brand of everything that made it real? Jonathan exhaled, as if this conversation was an inconvenience to him. Look, I won't deny that changes were made, but customers loved Willow and Sage when you were at the helm. And clearly they love Everleaf. That's why I'm here. He slid a contract across the table. Sarah didn't touch it. We want to acquire Everleaf, he continued. Bring you back into the fold. You'd have full creative control, of course. We'll handle logistics, distribution, everything. You wouldn't have to lift a finger. And in return, He leaned in, dropping his voice. You walk away with millions. Sarah let the offer hang in the air for a moment. There it was, the easy way out. For years, she had dreamed of financial security, of undoing the losses, of feeling stable again. And Jonathan was offering it on a silver platter. But at what cost? She glanced down at the contract. The fine print told her everything she needed to know. She'd be an employee under their terms, their restrictions, their vision. Everleaf Botanicals wouldn't be hers anymore. She met Jonathan's gaze, her expression unreadable. Jonathan, she said softly, do you know what I've learned since leaving Willow and Sage? He tilted his head, waiting. I learned that the beauty industry isn't just about products. It's about people. And people don't just buy skincare. They buy trust. She pushed the contract back toward him. And I trust myself more than I trust you. His face flickered just for a second, with something that looked an awful lot like regret. But she didn't stay to see how the conversation ended. She stood, grabbed her coat, and walked out. Jonathan Prescott had offered to buy her out. But she had already won. The news hit every major beauty publication within days. Indie skincare brand Everleaf Botanicals overtakes former industry giant in market share. Consumers turn away from mass-produced beauty. Everleaf's transparency sparks loyalty. Sarah Monroe's skincare revolution. How a 52-year-old entrepreneur redefined the industry. Sarah read the headlines, but none of them truly captured what had happened. It wasn't about beating Jonathan Prescott. It wasn't about revenge. It was about trust. Everleaf Botanicals wasn't just successful, it was thriving. The word-of-mouth loyalty had turned into national recognition. Beauty influencers raved about the formulations. Dermatologists backed the science. And, most importantly, customers knew exactly who they were supporting. But the real moment of victory, the final nail in Willow and Sage's coffin, it came in the form of a leaked internal memo. Sarah hadn't been the one to expose it, but someone inside Willow and Sage had finally had enough. The memo detailed corner-cutting measures, ingredient dilution, and misleading marketing tactics, all approved at the highest levels. It revealed that, despite their clean beauty branding, they had knowingly compromised product safety to maximize profits. When the memo surfaced, customers fled. Retailers dropped their contracts. And within 6 months, Willow and Sage filed for bankruptcy. Sarah didn't celebrate, not outwardly. But the night she heard the news, she stood alone in the Everleaf studio, surrounded by shelves of the products she had built from nothing. She ran her fingers over the label, her name printed boldly on each one. This was hers, her vision, her integrity, her legacy, and no one could take it away again. Later that evening, she received a message request. A young woman, Leah Patterson. Sarah hesitated, then opened it. Ms. Monroe, I don't know if you remember me, but I was an intern at Willow and Sage years ago. I saw how they treated you, and I want to say, watching what you built has inspired me. I'm launching my own sustainable beauty line. Would love to learn from you. Sarah smiled, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then, without hesitation, she replied, let's talk. Sarah sat in the Everleaf studio long after the message had been sent, staring at the soft glow of the screen. The weight of everything, the loss, the rebuild, the redemption, settled into her chest, but this time, it wasn't heavy. It was full. She thought about the years spent second-guessing herself, about the times she had let herself believe she was too old to start over. She thought about the moments when doubt crept in, whispering that maybe the world had moved on without her. But here she was, not just thriving, not just winning, but building something bigger than herself. And now, people like Leah, young women stepping into an industry that had once pushed her out, were looking to her, not as a relic of the past, but as a blueprint for the future. Sarah took a deep breath, then walked over to the workstation where it had all begun. The jars, the oils, the botanical extracts, all neatly arranged, waiting for the next creation. She picked up a vial of lavender-infused serum, rolling it between her fingers. It wasn't just about skincare. It had never been about skincare. It was about ownership of her work, of her future, of herself. The world had tried to write her off. Instead, she had rewritten everything. She placed the vial back down and turned off the lights, leaving behind a studio that no longer felt like just a business. Felt like proof. This story is more than just a tale of business and betrayal. It's about resilience, reinvention, and proving that it's never too late to start again. Sarah's journey reminds us that setbacks are not the end, but rather an opportunity to redefine success on our own terms. How many of you have faced a moment where you had to rebuild from scratch? Have you ever been underestimated, only to rise stronger than before? We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you think of Sarah's story? If you liked this story, comment 2 below. If it wasn't your favorite, comment 7. We value your opinions. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to True Tales for more powerful, real-life inspired stories narrated by Natalie. New videos drop every day, so stay tuned for more.